Hello and welcome to this Space Engineers tutorial series. Now, Space Engineers has quite a learning curve, as I'm sure you're aware, which is why you found this video. I have put way too many hours into this game, and in the series I'm going to try and show you a couple things that I learned along the way. First of all, just how to start a game, because there are a few things that most people would probably miss. So, new game, fairly obvious, but then you want to hit go to Star System. This is just the generic solar system. And then you want to hit Customize, because the base settings aren't for everyone. For one, character inventory size. Some people like it smaller, makes it more realistic, but for a more fun experience you want to turn this up to the max. Now blocks, this only really affects the size of your ships, so I don't like to make them too big. I like to have it around about 3 times. Means you don't have to make too many trips in your ships, but at the same time, it's not completely unrealistic. Also, if you turn this up to higher settings, be aware that you will need to actually have a lot more thrust to keep up one cargo container full of ore, or whatever you've mined. Assembler efficiency and refining speed, I always like these up to the max, because otherwise you're just waiting around for stuff, and that's not fun. So I usually do the same with grinding and welding. Now, environmental hostility, this is asteroids, meteors. You want this on safe. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's cool when you turn it to Armageddon and then you have fire raining from the skies, but it ruins the landscape. If you're trying to do stuff in rovers, you won't be able to drive properly without hitting loads of potholes. It is quite difficult. You will just get slapped in the face by a meteor. All of your hours of progress could be wiped out by a meteor storm. You don't want it. Asteroid amount, infinite normal density, that's fine. High density is quite a lot. I tend to like to turn this down a little bit, but for a first time playthrough, normal is probably what you want to go for. View distance very much depends on how good your computer is. 7K for lower end PCs, 15K should do fine for most things. I wouldn't go above 15K even if you do have like a super awesome computer. It doesn't really add that much because 15K is usually over the horizon on a planet, so not going to add that much. To be honest, it can have massive performance hits, even on ridiculous computers. There are some bugs where the sync distance gets stuck to 3 kilometers, which essentially becomes your render distance, which is something that I have fixed before, but I can't remember how. I will release another video on how to fix that at some point. Block limits, probably turn that off. You don't want to have to deal with PCU. PCU is annoying. You don't want to have to get halfway through building a big ship that you think you're going to really love, and then it's say, oh, you don't have enough PCU. I mean, it's a fairly simple fix. Just come in here and turn it off again, but save yourself that time. Max backup saves. You can leave it where it's at. If you think you're going to mess up like a lot, you can turn this up a bit, but don't go crazy with it because it will just eat all of your storage space. That's new. Leave as is. It shouldn't really affect much. Now we get to the main core chunk of this, right? Auto healing, I'd leave on. Cargo ships, you'd want on. This stuff, just leave as is. Thruster damage, leave that on. Weapons enabled, yeah. You will probably want to enable scripts. This will be a vanilla playthrough, but you might want to add mods later at some point in your own game. Some mods do require scripts, or maybe you just want to play around with scripts later in the game, because scripts are pretty cool. So, just leave it on. Saves you coming back and finding the setting later. Random encounters, yeah, leave that on. Adaptive simulation quality. I'm pretty sure this is off by default. Oh no, experimental mode is off by default. That's in another setting that I will edit in, now that I've realised I missed it. This is past me. In the options menu, when you boot up the game, and then go to game, and turn on experimental mode. This is all fine, sort of leave everything as is. Wolves and spiders, you can turn them on. They don't add that much to the game. The spiders, they're hilarious if you're on an alien planet. I'll leave you to experience that for yourself. But they can sometimes get caught and lag the game to hell. Stay safe and leave it off for now. The big one, progression. Turn it off. It's sort of like a tech tree thing. It doesn't really change much, it just slows down gameplay a lot, and it's not great. But it is on by default, and you will want to turn it off, so turn it off. Economy. Now, I always turn economy off because it ruins immersion for me, because they all spawn with a safe zone. There's like this big bubble around it, and it looks quite out of place, and you see this big bubble from miles away, and it's I really don't like the way it looks. Scrap drops. Probably leave scrap drops on. If you're planning to play on a game with friends and it's vanilla, probably turn that off, because that will create a lot of lag, generating loads of destruction and stuff. That means that when a block is destroyed, you get some scrap back from it, and it drops as an item. But if you have lots of blocks destroyed, lots of items, lag. Big servers, you might want to turn it off if it's vanilla, but there is a mod called Nanobot Build and Repair System, which is fantastic. And if you have that, I'd leave that on, because the Nanobot Build and Repair will pick it up automatically, and it'll get processed back into the iron. Temporary containers, that's kind of new, but that will help with lag, so turn that on. Now, weather system, leave on, it's cool. If you want a bit more of a challenge, enable lightning damage. I'm going to enable lightning damage because I'll show you how to protect yourself from lightning damage in this series. Just kind of be wary that this can be really damaging to new players. I think we're good. But just so you know, I've done this, God, hundreds of times now, and I still always miss something, so if you do something like this and you miss something, you're not alone. Everyone does it.